Hi there, Natasha here, realtor in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina, coming to you today with a big market update. I'm going to do this as quickly as I can. I'm going to give you a summary of what happened in the housing market in 2025 and what we're expecting to see in 2026. And a lot of this data is coming from national, local, and state level economists. So I've distilled it down for you to give you an idea of what you can expect for housing this year. So, what happened in 2025? I think we can all agree that it was a bit of a weird year, and that's a word that I've used a lot, and we've heard a lot of realtors use that word a lot. And the reason being is because uncertainty was the theme of 2025. So, because we saw some inconsistencies or changes to federal policy and things like tariffs, it created a sense of uncertainty, and consumer sentiment for the most part was low. And that's because consumers were worried about job security, wages, and prices. And when they're concerned about those three factors, it impacts their experience in the market, both buying goods and services, and that includes housing. So, what does that mean for consumer sentiment now? If we're looking nationally, it's still pretty low. And Dr. Joey Von Nessen, one of the economists I really respect, says that consumers are still cranky. And we're hoping that we see that start to change in 2026. The good news is that South Carolina is more resilient to economic changes than other states. And because of that, we expect that we will still have a robust and steady housing market in 2026. What does that look like going into this year? So while we expect a steady market, we're moving into what's considered a more normal or normalized market. So affordability should improve, and affordability is something that is impacted by rates. So I know we talk so much about rates, but prices and wages. So even if rates improve, we still need to see that people's wages are going up. They have the income to outpace inflation. So I know we talk so much about rates, but I do want us to pay attention to some other important economic factors like wages, because it's very important when we look at the larger theme of consumer sentiment and ultimately home buying. And as wages increase, we should see more buyers come to the market because their income, again, should start to outpace inflation. And that's really important to get consumers back into the market. And this will also start to nudge people that are locked into these really low interest rates off the fence as well, because we need their homes on the market to start to bring more inventory back. And inventory has come back. In our region, we have 4,500 homes on the market. So we typically like to see that number around 6,000 to get to a more normal inventory, but we're moving in the right direction. We are not quite there yet. Nationally, we're not quite rebounded yet with inventory, but we are moving in the right direction. The theme of the year for sales is smart pricing. If you don't price your home appropriately, it is going to take longer to sell, and you may have to relist it in the future. We are seeing that sellers are learning this the hard way in 2025, and I'm really hoping that they understand in 2026, smart pricing is going to get homes sold. And if you have to relist a home that hasn't sold, you do have a higher likelihood of getting it sold at that time, but you need to make some changes, and price is the biggest one. Days on market is up, and this is something important to consider. So I know that we are all used to or wish that homes sold overnight, and that happened during COVID, but COVID was many years ago now. We've moved and we are moving towards a more normal market, maybe even towards a buyer's market. So things are going to take longer to sell, and that is normal. But we need to understand that partnering with a real estate agent that understands the market, the pace of things, and marketing will be very important because it's a little bit of a longer game. So days on market is up in our region to 50 days on average. So think about that when you're going to sell, and know that it's going to be a little bit more of a long game. Now, homes are selling for 4% less than their list price on average. And again, I'm speaking in terms of our region. So 96% to list value, when we were used to in the past seeing homes selling for at or above list price. So when you think about your list price, I know you want to list higher because you know you're probably going to have to take a lower offer, but that might not be the best strategy. You might want to list as close as you can to what market value is so that you can get a quicker offer. Inventory, again, is growing, but we would like to see it continue to grow a little bit more, and I think that will happen. If rates change a little bit, we might get some of those sellers off the fence. But in terms of our area, growth is really moving towards the Hollywood, Ravenel, and Megget areas. And we are still seeing a lot of growth in Goose Creek, Monk's Corner, the greater Somerville area, Wando, and Cainhoy. So if you're a real estate investor or you're thinking, hey, what's the next frontier of Charleston? These are the areas where we're seeing the most new construction and the most growth. So as we move into 2026, it's important to know that we're not going to see a decline in home prices, but we are going to see a more normal market. What this means for you is it's important to be poised and ready. So have your pre-approval letter from a lender ready to go, or have your proof of funds if you're paying cash, and be strategic when it comes to making your offer. It's not just about list price. It's also important to think about repairs, closing costs. Maybe you use some of those seller paid closing costs to buy down that interest rate so that you can compete today and find a monthly payment that works for you. Sellers, I keep saying it, price. Of course, your condition has to be great and you have to have photographs that really make the property sing, but price is everything as we move into this market and as inventory and competition starts to come into play. We rose 2.4% in terms of home values in 2026 and earned 2025 in our area. So home prices are still going up. We expect that for 2026, maybe just at a slower pace, which again is normal, it's healthy, and it's what we want to see. So if you have questions about the real estate market, I would love to be your girl. Please reach out, send me a message, and let's start the conversation. Thank you so much for watching and have a great year.